All right, today we're going to do something kind of fun. We're cracking open what you could call the universe's ultimate recipe book. We're going to find out exactly what this whole place is made of, from the most basic, foundational ingredients to some of the most secret, mysterious spices you can imagine.
So let's start with a little thought experiment. Just imagine for a second you have this giant, totally empty box, right? And your job is to build a universe inside it, completely from scratch. What ingredients would you need? What atoms would you have to put in there? And how much of each? That's really the core question we're diving into.
Well, it turns out the recipe is surprisingly simple, at least at the beginning. You really only need two main ingredients to build the foundation of, well, pretty much all the atomic matter that exists. That's it, just two. And here they are. If you look at it by mass, a staggering 75% of all the atomic matter in the universe is just hydrogen. And that other 25%, it's almost entirely helium. Think about that. Just two elements make up basically the entire cosmic pie chart. Everything else, everything, is just the tiny, tiny sliver.
What's really fascinating is how completely different these two main ingredients are. You've got hydrogen, which is incredibly reactive. It just loves to bond and form molecules, like the H2 gas that fuels stars. And then you have helium, on the other hand. It's a noble gas. It's completely inert. Its atoms are like total loners. They just don't bond with anything. So you literally have the ultimate social butterfly and the ultimate introvert, making up almost everything that exists.
Okay, but let's be honest. A universe made of just hydrogen and helium would be pretty boring. To get any of the interesting stuff, planets, stars, people, you've got to add some spices to the mix. And this is where that crucial, but tiny 2% comes into play. That's right, just 2%. Every other element on the entire periodic table, all this stuff that makes life possible, from the oxygen we breathe to the iron in our blood, it's all just a tiny little impurity in the grand cosmic recipe. It's an absolutely incredible thought when you stop and think about it, isn't it?
So to make this a little more real, let's go back to our universe in a box idea. Imagine you scoop up a metric ton. That's 1,000 kilograms of average stuff from the universe. Out of that entire ton, only 20 kilograms would be these heavier spice elements. The other 980 kilos? Yep, just our old friends, hydrogen and helium.
All right, so what's actually in that 20 kilograms of cosmic spice? Let's start with the single biggest ingredient, and it's not even close. Oxygen. So get this. Out of those 20 kilograms of impurities, more than half of it is just one element, oxygen. It comes in at a whopping 10.4 kilograms. And its role? Oh, it's absolutely vital. It's the O and H2O, it's a huge part of the air we breathe, and it's a major component of the very rocks under our feet. The reason oxygen is so important really comes down to its reactivity. As a gas, it's always looking to bond with other elements. It's what forms those stable O2 molecules that make up 21% of our atmosphere. And of course, when it combines or burns with hydrogen, you get water. It really is a cornerstone of our world.
Next up in our recipe is carbon. And this is the undisputed backbone of life as we know it.
So our cosmic recipe calls for about 4.7 kilograms of carbon per metric ton, and its role is just incredible. This one element can form more unique molecules than all the other elements combined. Its chemical versatility is just completely off the charts.
And why is that? It's because carbon can form 4 super strong bonds, which lets it create these incredibly complex chains and rings. It combines with hydrogen to make hydrocarbons, it hooks up with oxygen to make CO2, and it joins with a whole host of other elements to create the complex machinery of organic chemistry. To put it simply, without carbon, you and I just wouldn't be here. Period.
Okay, let's add one more really critical spice to our recipe for life. Let's talk about nitrogen. Now, we're only adding just under a kilogram of nitrogen to our metric ton mix. And yeah, that might not sound like a lot, but its role is monumental. Nitrogen is a key component of the amino acids that build proteins, and it's right there in the structure of our DNA. It is absolutely 100% essential.
So, there you have it. That's our basic recipe, right? About 98% hydrogen and helium, and that crucial 2% of other stuff, with oxygen, carbon, and nitrogen leading the pack. We've filled our box with all the atomic matter, but that is not the whole story. In fact, it's not even close.
Because it turns out our cosmic recipe has this huge secret ingredient.
kind of like a ghost in the mix. It's something that isn't made of atoms at all, and it outweighs everything we've talked about so far. By a lot.
You've probably heard of it. We call it dark matter. We can't see it, we can't touch it, but we know it's there because we can see its powerful gravitational effects. It's almost like an invisible scaffolding that's holding entire galaxies together in this vast cosmic web.
And this is where our recipe takes a really wild turn, based on a pretty provocative theory from our source material. To account for all this missing dark matter, this theory suggests we need to add a shocking new ingredient. Are you ready for this? 5 metric tons of microscopic black holes for every 1 ton of atoms we put in the box.
And that leads us to the final and frankly mind-bending idea from this source, a theory that completely redefines what everything is actually made of.
The theory itself is as simple as it is profound. Everything is black holes. Yeah, you heard me. Not just the invisible dark matter holding galaxies together, but the very quarks and gluons inside the protons and neutrons of every single atom we've been talking about.
Okay, so here's the core idea. The theory basically says that a black hole is just another fundamental particle, defined by its mass and its spin, just like an electron or a photon. So the quarks and gluons inside atoms, they're just unimaginably tiny black holes. They're so incredibly small that they act less like little solid pellets and more like ripples in a field. And it's these ripples that create the properties of all the matter that we see and touch every day.
So we end on this thought. We started out with a super simple recipe of hydrogen and helium, added a pinch of cosmic spice to get life, and we ended up with a theory where the fundamental ingredient for everything is something we can't even see. Which leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to chew on, doesn't it? What if the true building blocks of our reality are completely invisible?